Alright, what's going on, guys? So today we've got a buff concept that I designed for Spider-Man Classic. Um, it's kind of random. I just was scrolling through my roster and I kind of forgot this dude was even in the game, and that's so depressing to say because Spider-Man is such a, you know, iconic MCU, or well, not only MCU character but like Marvel character. He's just so iconic, and he's not that great in this game. We have Stealth Suit Spider-Man and Stark Enhanced Spider-Man who are good, but just like an OG classic Spider-Man, he's not that good. And he hasn't gotten any synergies that make him really good. So my goal today was to make him, a decent character. And hopefully you guys agree I did the same thing. And I highly doubt this will ever be put into game, but like it's just cool to, theory craft. But this is all no synergies. I couldn't really think of anything to add for synergies. I'm sure if I gave it more thought I could, but I wanted him to be good enough on his own to where he wouldn't need synergies. I'm really tired of characters really relying on them, and I'd love to see just Spider-Man be good on his own. And you'll see the goal of this buff is not meant to turn him into the hardest hitting character. Like I said, I don't want him to be insane, but I want him to be super sustainable and have support mechanics as well. So I don't want him to rely on others. I want others to be able to lean on him for support, kind of like Magneto, House of X, or Mr. Fantastic. But I really want him to be sustainable yet reward aggressive play, and I think I did a decent job at buffing him in that way. But we got a lot of reading to do, so I am going to put my glasses on so we can read this a little bit better. So I apologize if there's a glare on my glasses. So Spider-Man's passive abilities: he cannot land critical hits naturally, and when he would have landed a critical hit, he deals an extra burst of physical damage for each weakness on the opponent. Weaknesses are a big part of his kit, we'll get into that later. But it's super important to be able to land weaknesses on the opponent, and they're pretty easy to ramp up on the opponent. He also gains plus 800 physical resistance but minus 500 energy resistance. This goes into the sustainability part. Most of the characters you're going to want to fight with Spider-Man are going to be physical attackers, so it makes sense to have it this way. And then the negative 500 energy resistance, it can be thrown away, but I figured if I'm going to give something, I got to take something away to keep the balance there. And he's also got another ability called Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and this is when fighting villains or Sinister Six opponents. He'll gain the following benefits. His attack rating increases by 800, his base ability accuracy becomes 150%, and his critical rating is increased by 10%. He can't crit naturally, but the crit rating will allow him to access the extra burst damage easier. He also has increased attack rating, and his base ability accuracy is increased, so anyone who reduces ability accuracy against him that's a villain, they need a pretty hefty ability accuracy reduction to shut him down. But next up we have his persistent charge mechanic, and this goes into the support mechanics that I was talking about. He begins the quest with 4 persistent charges, and defeating an opponent grants him 1 charge. If they're a Sinister Six or a villain, he gets another one, so that will be 2 from villains or Sinister Six characters. Then he can place pre-fights on certain fights. The first one's called I Gotcha, and Spider-Man can spend 2 persistent charges in the pre-fight screen, blah 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 blah. It's the same wording as Magneto's. It can be used by other allies on the team or alliance members or whatever you want to use it for. It doesn't have to be used by just him. This will allow anyone with the pre-fight active to place the ensnare debuff on the opponent for 10 seconds with their heavy attack. And I put a dev note. This is my attempt at putting like a striker mechanic in the game. It's not really Spider-Man gonna swing down and go, shoot at the opponent's feet, but it could be cool if they show like a let's say Night Thrasher does a heavy attack. The first hit, you'll see like webs go at the opponent's feet, just something to show that it's in action. Not that you need this debuff for Night Thrasher, but dude's always on my mind. So this will allow any hero to bypass evade, and you only get 2 of these without fighting him. You can only place 2 of these without or fighting with Spider-Man. So this isn't gonna be like game breaking or anything. It's just to give like expanding rosters a chance to have another evade counter if there's ever a lane that requires multiple evade counters. Because Spider-Man's going to be an evade counter, you'll see with the abilities I give him, but you can't rely on one character for everything. I mean, you can, but like you got to be really good and super safe, which is what I want Spider-Man to be, but you never know. So if you take too much damage in one fight, you'll have him get some extra persistent charges so you can throw the pre-fight on and anyone can counter evade that's a hero. So that's the whole point with that. If you already have a developed roster, you're not going to need his pre-fights for other people. You're probably just going to use them for yourself. And to use them for yourself, he can use his own pre-fight because this will give him a longer duration on the ensnare, but it's not ideal. I'll explain why when we get to it. So the second one is called So This Is It. Spider-Man can spend 8 persistent charges, which is his max amount, and this will allow him to only be he's the only one who can use this pre-fight, and it allows him to start the fight with 5 weakness debuffs on the opponent at the start of the fight, and they have a 20-second duration, which is longer than the normal duration of these weakness debuffs. And if you use this pre-fight on the final node of a quest, Spider-Man will start the fight with 3 SpiderSense charges, we'll get to what those do in a second, and he'll place 10 weakness debuffs on the opponent at the start of the fight, and those will have a 25-second duration. So the whole point with his kind of persistent charge is you can either help your teammates and give them an evade counter, or you can use it for yourself, preferably on the final node of the quest, and just go to town on the opponent. Because a lot of the time, like, Spider-Man gets beat up, like at least in the movies, and all of a sudden he just goes crazy and well, not really goes crazy, but just like comes out of nowhere and he's like, all right, it's time to beat somebody's butt. So he goes pretty crazy. So like that's the whole idea with that. It's just like SpiderSense is tingling. It's you know, everything's on the line. Final fight of the quest. You know, that kind of thing. Don't know if anyone would agree that that's like super accurate, but I think it's pretty cool. Gives them something unique. Next, we're talking about a SpiderSense charges, and you could have a max stack of 5 of these. SpiderSense charges are gained by intercepting the opponent's basic attack with Spider-Man's basic attacks, or punishing the opponent's heavy attack with Spider-Man's heavy attack. He cannot consume SpiderSense charges while holding block. That means you can evade while blocking. These SpiderSense charges grant you certain evade effects, and you have to be not holding block to consume them. And you got to think of these as sort of like a currency for evade. So like if you have at least one SpiderSense charge, he will have a 100% chance to evade all incoming basic attacks only for 0.5 seconds. And the cooldown on this is 7 seconds. So the reason I said 0.5 seconds instead of the next hit is so if you do accidentally trigger this, you have time to recover, rather than, you know, one hit misses and then they hit you again or they hit you with the second hit. This isn't going to be too annoying on defense because there are some fail safes to counter his evade, but yeah, he's going to be an easier defender after this buff, in my opinion. But while charging your heavy attack, Spider-Man will consume 2 SpiderSense charges to give him 100% chance to evade an incoming basic attack. This could be heavy or basic attack. That's what I'm referring to in basic attacks. This evasion will place a 15-second ensnare onto the opponent. Your normal heavy attack will place a 7-second ensnare on the opponent. We'll get to that later, but the pre-fight will allow you to access a 10 seconds ensnare. So the reason why I said that pre-fight's not useful for him, you want to save up for the last pre-fight, is because of this. You could basically just charge your heavy, let them attack into you, and you'll do like a counter evade, and you'll like shoot web at their feet to ensnare them for 15 seconds. I thought that was pretty accurate, and not a lot of Spider characters have ensnare. I think Stealth Suit Spider-Man, no, not Stealth Suit, Stark Enhanced is the only one who has it, and that's only on a special 3. So I figured it was like quite a Spider ability, and thought it'd be cool to you know, give him the chance to, you know, ensnare the opponents. It makes sense because he's a spider. And then when you have 5, I forgot to put that in there. Spider-Man consumes all 5 when at 5. No, how am I gonna word this? Sorry. Yeah, Spider-Man consumes 5 SpiderSense charges to give him a 100% chance to invade an incoming special attack, cooldown 20 seconds. That's the best way I can put it. So like, if you're just standing there, not holding block, and they dash at you with a basic attack, and you have 5 charges, you'll only consume 1. If you're standing there, not holding block, and they throw a special attack, you'll consume all of them and 100% chance to evade it all. I took this inspiration from Spider-Gwen. When against a superior class, she can fully evade unblockable specials, I think. I might be wrong, I'm not too great with her, but I know she's got that special evade against unblockables, and you have to trust Spider-Gwen to just not hold block and let her evade. So that's the whole point with this, is like, you can use your evade to keep him sustained, but also be aggressive to keep up these intercepts. And intercepts are also very vital to another part of his kit that we'll get to in a second. But we have his Awakenability now. I tried to put these in order of what would make sense, and it's so hard to with a character kit, because you just have to like read everything and see how everything comes together. But his Awakenability, I called it the Peter Tingle. If you guys watch MCU movies, you'll get the reference. Spider-Man homes in on a SpiderSense, granting him a SpiderSense charge every 10 seconds. It's 7 seconds instead of Sig 200. I meant to put Sig 200. This is like Mysterio's chemical gas mechanic. So Spider-Man will need to be awakened to be even usable on defense. And yeah, it's just gonna help you build up SpiderSense charges if you can't land intercepts. And if Spider-Man's inflicted with a bleed debuff, this timer that will gain you SpiderSense charges is paused for the duration of the debuff, which is a way to counter him on defense. All personal debuff Spider-Man places on the opponent will have increased duration by 1 second, and then 2 seconds at Sig 20. It's not a huge help, but if you when we get to the next part of the kit, you'll see why that's a pretty decent chunk of time. When below 50% health, Spider-Man's ability accuracy is increased by 25%, and this is 50% at Sig 200. So against villains, he'll have 200% ability accuracy, and this will allow him to evade, while Venom has True Strike, I believe. If Venom's True Strike works to where he reduces incoming evade chances by 100%, this will allow Spider-Man to evade. But yeah, there's ways around Spider-Man's evade now to where it's not needed for a True Strike character, but they still work. So next up, we've got the heavy attack animation, and this is, I would hope, a new animation. He shoots web from both hands at the opponent's feet, then backflip kicks the opponent. And Spider-Man's heavy attack will place an ensnare debuff on the opponent that reduces opponent evasion and reduces ability accuracy by 30%. This is just a standard ensnare debuff, and it'll last 7 seconds. You normally don't want to use this one, but it's not like it's a charged thing. You could easily just throw it and then charge your heavy when you have 2 SpiderSense charges. But yeah, basic animations, he'll have new animations. His first medium is a 2-hit attack, and the rest are just normal 1-hits. The first hit is physical, and the second one's a web shot. And his first light attack and last light attack are web shots as well. All basic attacks have a 25% chance to inflict a weakness debuff on the opponent for 10 seconds, and you can only have a max stack of 10 of these unless stated otherwise, which is via your pre-fight. The pre-fight will, I think I remember, give you 15. Wait, no, the pre-fight allows you to start at 15. Pre-fight allows you to start with 10. Yeah, so I don't know why I have the max stack of 10 unless stated otherwise. It's just max stack of 10. But intercepting the opponent with any basic attack pauses all weakness debuffs on the opponent for 0.5 seconds. And landing a web attack pauses any active ensnare debuff for 0.5 seconds. So as you see there, your weakness debuffs are your source of damage when you crit, or when you're supposed to crit. You'll deal extra burst physical damage, but you also want to intercept to pause these weakness debuffs, as well as gain your SpiderSense charges. So I feel like that all comes together to just be a very aggressive playstyle that can be super sustainable, because these weakness debuffs, they reduce the opponent's attack, so if you have to take a parry, it won't hurt, because Spider-Man will have them pretty weak pretty quickly. And then yeah, landing a web attack pauses any active ensnare debuff for 0.5 seconds. So basically what you want to do, just charge your heavy attack when you have the SpiderSense charges, let them attack into you. You'll do your counter evade and snare them for 15 seconds, and then you potentially have 100% uptime of evade, which is pretty solid. Or pretty 100% uptime on evade cancellation, which is solid. So now as specials, special 1 will be a new animation, but you keep the same first 2 hits. So he shoots the 2 webs, and then he'll swing towards the opponent, do his web swing, kicking them instead of doing the multiple punches. This attack's critical rating is 50%. This attack will pause all current debuffs on the opponent for 0.5 seconds. If you're ever in a situation where you think you're going to lose your debuffs, just throw this, or it's not really special that you're going to want to be keeping in your rotation that often, but what you could do is build to your really close to your special 2, or throw the special 1 and then build to your special 2, trying to get more weaknesses in, and the special 2 will do decent damage. And the dev note, obviously Spider-Man can't land crits naturally, but the increased critical rating allows him to access his extra physical damage. Special 2 is going to have the same animation, but this has a 100% chance to, or 100% crit rating, which means you're always going to be dealing your extra burst of physical damage, which I think is pretty cool. This attack will gain plus 250 attack rating for each weakness debuff on the opponent, hence why weakness debuffs are pretty important. This attack refreshes the original duration of all current weaknesses on the opponent. I think this is a pretty fair thing to do. It's not going to be needed if you use your special 3, because the special 3, if you read, it says it'll pause all weakness debuffs on the opponent indefinitely. You're only going to want to use this in longer fights, but hopefully the special 3 will get a new animation. Not that it really means anything. I just want to see Spider-Man web the opponent's feet to the ground, swing kicks them into the wall, and then hopefully you could resume the fight with the opponent in their corner, which will allow you to do backdraft intercepts easier, because everyone knows they're easier in the corner, and intercepts are pretty vital to his gameplay. And that would make sense. I mean, if Spider-Man's going to web people to the wall, it makes sense to start in their corner. But yeah, your special 3 will pause all weakness debuffs on the opponent indefinitely. I took this from Apocalypse's abilities, where he can pause his debuffs on the opponent. Spider-Man will gain 5 SpiderSense charges, so if you're not already there, or you used them all before, you could easily get them back just via the special 3. You'll gain an energized passive, increasing your power gain, or all power gain, by 5% for 15 seconds. This isn't a lot, but it'll just help you cycle to your special 2 after your special 3. You'll gain a passive fury. You'll gain a fury passive, increasing your attack by 250 attack rating for each weakness debuff on the opponent for 15 seconds. So basically, your rotation is going to be special, like build close to special 2, but throw special 1, then go up to the special 2 for shorter fights. And then if you want to take longer fights with this guy, ramp up to your special 3, just intercept as much as possible, and then build up to your special 2. You'll have the energize, which will allow you to it'll allow you to get to your specials faster, and then throw your special 2, or you could throw your special 3 if you want. I think this makes them pretty balanced in terms of the ouchie masteries, because you don't need to spam your special 2 to do insane amount of damage. Once you get him ramped up, you can spam the special 3 for the fury passive and just keep cycling special 3s. So he has no immunities, which kind of brings down sustainability, but I think this makes him pretty useful, and no immunities makes sense. But special 2 damage that I hope without the special 3 passive fury is like 35k to 40k damage on average, because like having too much damage right off the bat would just make no sense. And the special 2 damage with the special 3 fury passive is like 85k plus on average, is what I'd like to see, considering it's so easy to get. But gotta remember that you're gonna basically hopefully be doing increased damage for each weakness debuff on the opponent on all basic attacks. So he's just gonna be hitting hard all around consistently. So yeah, that's all I got for this buff. I might have missed a couple things. I'm currently trying to get some stuff done, and so if you guys have any comments and thoughts on this, just let me know in the comment section, and we can talk about it. If you guys enjoyed it, let me know by hitting that like button, sub if you enjoyed, But yeah, I really love to see a buff style like this for Spider-Man. It doesn't even have to be the design I did, which, you know, obviously probably won't happen. But like, I'd like to see evade being an offensive mechanic rather than a defensive one, and ensnare. Ensnare is such a spider-like ability, and it's not used by many. Stark Spidey's the only one with it, and it's only on a special 3, which is useless in my opinion. But yeah, I think this would be a lot of fun. And he's not going to be like an insane character. He's not going to be insanely OP, but he'll do some damage in the right scenarios, and equally shut down by the wrong scenarios. So wait, that's all I gotta say about this. I'm going to leave a link to the written Word document if you guys want to read that instead of the PowerPoint. And yeah, so thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys for the next video.